Welcome to the Gauntlet Interviews. Tonight's feature, beloved by headbangers around the world, Coma, Cluster, Void, represented by one of the three lead singers, Lidsay O Vox.
Good evening, metal gods and goddesses. Welcome to the Gauntlet, and it's time tonight for another interview. Tonight we have a very special guest, Lidsay O Vox, the front woman for Coma, Cluster, Void, a Renaissance woman in her own right, writing for the metal press, including various publications, managing, promoting, singing, engineering, and almost anything to do with music. Most importantly, she's a metalhead. Lidsay.
Hello.
I know I missed a few things there, but how are you doing? Tell us where you are right now.
I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Las Vegas currently, but I sort of bounce around between here and Los Angeles, and Denver, so just kind of I'm a bit of a nomad.
You're vagabonding right now?
No, I have a solid home, but I've lived all over the West Coast, and so I travel a lot throughout the West Coast to see friends and things like that, go to shows, and I just like to be on the road, so I try to be as much as possible.
Okay, so I presume you've been in the LA area?
Yep.
And I also presume maybe San Diego, San Francisco, in the whole 101, or Sacramento, any of that?
Yeah, I lived in San Diego for many years.
Oh, a great city.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful town. Lived in San Francisco, lived in Richmond, California, lived in Long Beach, California.
Oh, man,
So
great spots.
Yeah, lived in a lot of different places, so.
What do you? Okay, so is that sort of your home? Look,
Yeah, I think I think West Coast in general is kind of more my speed, at least weather-wise.
oh, of course.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with Arctic temperatures here in Kansas City right now.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but it'll melt off and get up to about 20 or some, so then we'll be playing frisbee and stuff. So, Lidsay, I've learned a lot about California in the last year, and I really love the state. Some of the facts I've learned is they're very serious about environmentalism. I mean, they're not playing around. They have more solar and wind than the rest of the United States combined, I found out.
Yeah, that is true.
Which is amazing, you know? It means the rest of us are a bunch of freaking slackers or deniers. And, they passed a law that you don't have to be forced to wear a necktie because it strangles you.
I did not know that. That's actually...
It does. I used to wear one, and I tell you, half the time I couldn't even think straight,
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that, but, that's the culture.
It's definitely. It's impressive to me. I like it. Except for those poor guys in the fires, man. Holy shit. I mean...
Yeah, they were.
It's like you think, when is it going to be all burned up? I mean, how long can it go,
Yeah, it's extremely widespread, and a place that I was staying at over the summer before I moved to Vegas last year got burned up in the fires, like right after I left, probably a month after I left LA. When the fires broke out, their house got consumed, and it's really tragic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's
Yeah, definitely.
and I've seen my share of really big fires living in Southern California, San Diego especially. We used to have pretty bad fires in the county, but this past one in 2018 was just devastating. It was incredible.
Yeah, no kidding. And then it stopped for a while and came back, but I got to see these pictures of people driving on, couple lanes, 4 or 5 lane highways with fire on both sides of the highway. And they're just pressing on to work. I guess it can't. Sometimes it can't cross along a wide highway, and I thought that's part of your everyday life is driving through fire. You know, that's wild. So okay.
It's not, every day, but it's, a phenomenon that it's kind of an annual phenomenon, and, to see fires on the side of the highway, especially in the months of August, September, it's really common, and most of the time they're small little brush fires.
Yeah, I just remember seeing a lot of black sky and some brightness down by the road surface, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about music for a little bit? Are you still? I know you're always trading up. Are you? And this is nothing personal against your bandmates, but you're still with Coma Cluster Void?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I just joined last year.
Cool. How's that? How have you enjoyed being on stage all the time? And do you feel at home on stage?
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you asked that. I do. With Coma Cluster, we're going to be writing a new album this year, so there haven't been any live performances yet. It's really primarily a intense studio project. We're all dispersed throughout the world, so Berlin and Montreal
Jesus.
and me on the West Coast.
So you guys are going.
So it's very much, it's very much a studio project for logistical reasons. Obviously, who knows what the future holds, but for previous engagements, I would say I'm very much a live performer. I think that's where I sound my best. That's where I feel most comfortable. Even when I'm practicing on my own, I find that I just do better when I am in a room, a practice room, holding the microphone as opposed to using recording mic, stationary. I really have to move around to get out all of the sounds and tones and really feel that I'm giving my best. So
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely someone who loves to perform live.
That's I hear that a lot from especially metal musicians is that they feel the most secure, the most comfortable on stage, and then they come off and it's back to like anxiety and panic. And I just find that fascinating because it was the other way for me, and I was in the back on the drums. But so once in a while you see a band. I've not seen a lot of your live shots, but you'll see a band where the lead singer has some really good moves instead of just pacing back and forth in camo shorts, or running back and forth. But they got cool moves. Would you say do you have some moves that come to you that you feel the music through, so to speak? Like, I don't know. Let me give you Ian Anderson from The Cult. You remember him?
Yeah.
He had some cool moves, right? He used to do that little shuffle to the side.
He has a shuffle.
Yeah, but I mean, that adds a lot to the performance, I think. And just wondering if that's part of your show.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not anything that's pre-planned, I guess. I don't really have, dance moves per se, but...
Sure, I get you. Most people say that just the music moves through them and it moves them. They can't help it.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, it's, I perform my best when I really feel emotionally what I'm trying to convey, but also singing and screaming and doing guttles, all that stuff is a very physical endeavor. So a lot of my, body movements on stage are me really using as much power, physical power that I have to get these sounds and tones out.
Right.
So that's kind of also what a lot of my body movements about, how I present myself on stage is, getting the best sound that I can out, especially when you're in a live setting, because, your adrenaline's pumping, you're moving around, heart beating fast, and you have to be very athletic to be able to do that for 45 minutes. So
no kidding, and you've got to have a Vox that's indestructible. I mean, because sometimes the vocal fry on the bottom just rips things apart down there.
Yeah, it can. I mean, there's definitely a lot more um, information out there now on how to properly make these sounds without screwing up your voice.
Right.
Obviously, warming up and cooling down is really important before you do that, but with proper technique, you should be able to. My whole thing is, can I talk and can I sing after I'm done screaming? And if I can talk and I can clean sing, then I'm not doing damage in my mind. I don't feel pain. I think that's one of the biggest misnomers that people have about metal vocals is that you are using your voice. I mean, sometimes you are. Sometimes you're using your voice for certain.
Right, but you're not coming from the diaphragm. You're coming from kind of the upper throat, right?
Yeah, you're using, you're using your false vocal cords, is what they're called, which is basically just all the tissues surrounding your vocal cords. So, although it may sound gnarly and you're making all these crazy sounds, you're not actually using your very thin vocal cords, which are these very thin membrane-like
Right.
tissues. And, so the sounds that actually you make is the air reverberating off of the other tissues in your throat, in your soft palate, below your vocal cords. A lot of the gutturals I do, I aim for below my vocal cords as opposed to kind of more head voice stuff. And then of course everybody's anatomy is different. People have thicker necks and more tissue and things like that, so their tones can be a little bit different. But really, for me, it's like, when I get off stage, can I talk and can I hum a tune without it cracking or sounding horrible? Then I think that I'm probably doing something right.
Right. Do you ever take any, voice drops or anything like that?
Only, I mean, like,
Or like a cough drop, or what are those things called? The throat discs?
like lozenge or something.
Yeah, just something sort of numb it out a little while you're warming up, and then you get your feeling back real quick. But
I try to focus on anti-inflammatory, not like ibuprofen, but just herbal anti-inflammatory, because, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not like,
thank
I'm not
God.
a voice specialist.
Yeah.
I'm not like a voice specialist, so I don't really, just from my anecdotal experience that, a lot of the time when you're hoarse and your voice cracks, it's because your vocal cords are swollen and puffy, if you're doing something improper. So I try not to suppress pain because I want to know if I'm doing something wrong and it hurts. But
I see.
try to just drink tea or like a lot of, ginger, turmeric and things like that to keep the tissues in my throat from swelling up or being like puffy, just because I want to be able to get those sounds again. Like if you're on tour, usually a lot of people say by like day show 4, their voice sounds like shit because everything's all used up basically, and that's usually just from swelling. And it's not even like swelling of their vocal cords. It's just like, it's a lot of air and power coming up and hitting the soft palate and stuff. So I just try to keep my voice or my throat soothed as opposed to numbing pain, because I want to know, like, if something hurts, then it's fucking up. But as long as everything's, chill, then I can continue on.
Well, yeah, it's good that you pay so much attention to it. I'm sure there's people out there who just, have 2 beers and go, let's roll.
Yeah.
I've tried it before, and what I have as a problem is it tickles my throat, and I have to stop. But I used to sing in more of the Jeff Tate realm, if you remember him, and I could not do it 2 nights in a row because it's so dramatic up and down, and if I tried to do it a second night, it would sound like my voice is just cracking all over the place. And if lots of falsetto, I'd have to stick in there. But, so I just said, guys, I'm going to have to do one night stand and break. So I eventually left, and that was the end of that. But anyway, that's some fascinating information because I've always wondered a lot of that stuff. And I've always wondered how people do it without getting that ticklish feeling. But it's because you're aiming the air frequency up into a different area which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's anatomy is different. So, I mean, I've looked at all the tutorials and stuff, and I've been doing this stuff for a really long time, and I never really had anybody teaching me how to do it. So it was just me kind of in a room, at the stage, playing with tones and air placement. But I have to say, like, you know, the main thing that I focus on is, does it hurt? Am I straining? If I'm straining and it hurts, I'm doing it wrong. It should never hurt. You should never have me strain. And a lot of it too is like like breath control. Like, you really have to be able to control the amount of air that you are releasing when you're doing your thing, because that has a lot to do with tone and phrasing and how long you can scream. And also, you know, there's a lot of air, a lot of pressure coming through the diaphragm when you scream, and all of that's like hitting your throat, hitting your tissues, and you know, that can be pretty damaging too. So you have to be able to control the amount of air that comes out, so you're not bombarding tissues with this hot, acidic air.
Yeah, because it probably goes like sort of like a shockwave toward your throat. If it's got a lot of power, but then you've got to have enough air in there to complete if it's a long, you know, tone to complete it. Okay, well, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing some of that stuff. Do you guys have a label now?
I guess not formally. We do have labels that are going to be reissuing our last release.
Is that Mind Cemeteries?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm talking to Stone.
So Mind Cemeteries, there's one between that and your new one coming?
The last one, Box from a Stone is the one that's going to be reissued this year.
Okay. I got that. I've got that one too. I love that title, by the way. But and the other thing I really like about your music is I've always been a fan of the use of dissonance wherever possible. It seems like you guys seem to kind of specialize in that a little bit.
Yeah.
Dissonant tones, you know, unresolved tones and things like that. In fact, I think they've called a genre after you now called, what is it? Dissonant death metal or dissonant something?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Couple Cluster's definitely, you know, very atonal, ultra dissonant music. I mean, it's very, to me, it's brilliant, and that's why I'm so, you know, thrilled to be a part of the project, because these are very talented, visionary individuals, and you know, to be able to compose music like this and conceive of it, you know, you really have to have a good sense of musical aesthetics as well, or else it could sound like cacophony. Because I know a lot of people will listen to stuff like this, or like a band like Bearing Teeth, and will say, "Wow, it's a bunch of noise."
Yeah, well, they're some of them are classified in the noise genre, though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's noise, rock noise. You know, that's a genre, I think, but it still, you know, does require kind of an acute sense of creativity and musicality and listening to things in a different way other than what is typical song structure, melodiousness and things like that. You really have to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I get it.
Familiar with in order to appreciate it.
Yeah, and so if you think about it, I don't want to be overly simplistic, but it's sort of like a movement in, let's say, visual art. You know, you had your realists, you know, back at the Renaissance who were trying to paint photographs, and then it gradually got abstract, and they became the big ones, you know, and then went through Cubism and whatever came after that was Impressionism and Naturalism and all those, and they're all sort of more and more abstract, because thought's abstract and emotions are incredibly abstract, but when you create them in people by performing, that's a miracle, you know?
Yeah.
And because for me, music is just feeling. It's feeling communicated to me, and I can't go very long without it. Actually, it's kind of it's like I get dull, you know. But anyway, okay, so I asked about the label because I was going to put some samples maybe on your interview, but if you guys got a label coming, they might press down on that and say, yeah, no, we got, we're doing this, so I'll leave it out. Yeah, you never want to make that mistake, especially by accident, right? Okay, so how much touring did you do last season?
Last season, I did a lot of personal touring. Last year, I didn't do much. I didn't do any touring at all.
Yeah, as the front woman for Coma Cluster, you didn't tour?
No, that's I just joined in May of last year, 2018, and again with us being dispersed all over the world, it's if we were going to do something like that in the future, it would require a bit more planning.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, but I mean, previous stuff that I've done, they were kind of dispersed amongst different other bands and things like that. Last year was definitely just kind of more me being on the road and, just getting out of Denver and doing a lot
Sure, I know.
things.
I remember you were sending pictures to your Facebook page, and when I went, I've only been to Europe and Eastern Europe once in my life, and it bothers me that that's the case. But when you have kids, it's sort of just everything goes on ice, right? And anyway, when I went to Europe, I thought this is the most amazing and magical place in the world, and I got back to the United States and I said, this place is completely plastic, and I was profoundly depressed because it's just so ancient over there, I loved it.
Yeah, I was actually, last year, 2018 in April, I was on tour, but not with my band. It was with the Bullet Carnage and
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, and it was doing merch and just being, band mom, I guess.
Yeah.
Mom, I don't know.
Everybody's got one.
Doing after April, and I had my own little personal sojourn in Germany before I joined up with the tour. And, I just, like I said, I love being on the road and being capacity to keep me on. I've done, merch and stuff like that in the past. And this was a really great opportunity to kind of not have to worry so much about navigating around when you're in a group. It's a lot, you've got that camaraderie and safety thing. But before I joined the tour, I was in Germany. I was in Leipzig and Eden and Hamburg for a few weeks. It was great. I mean, I'd never been to Germany before then. I'd been to Europe and, things like that, but I'd never been to, Germany, so to speak. And, it was, I had a great time. It's just, I don't know, it's indescribable in a way. I definitely learned a little bit of German, enough to stay out of trouble, I guess. Ate a lot of bread and chocolate. And
Well, are you a vegetarian?
I'm a vegan.
So you probably had a little trouble with the sausage, huh?
It doesn't affect me or anything. I just, I mean, certain places in the world, it's not easy to be vegan, but it's one of those things where because I travel a lot, I've come to accept the fact that I can't demand as a vegan that, everybody be a vegan and, feed me vegan stuff. It's just, I have to be a lot more resourceful.
Yes.
That's totally fine.
But so the society is coming to you, and you're going to the society, because my daughter just became one, and she's only 16. And I actually was proud of her for being able to make that decision on her own and decide for her reasons to go ahead and do that, But I'm witnessing her struggles with, going to restaurants and whatnot. But anyway.
Yeah, it's the thing. Oh, no, I mean, it's the thing, for her, it's just going to be one of those things, eventually, where it will be habitual, and it won't be a burden. I think the expectation is, when you go certain places, that there's going to be a lot of options. Sometimes there aren't, and you'll just have to mentally make the shift from expecting things to being prepared for there not to be things there.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. we have some vegetarian, really high-end vegetarian restaurants here that are not high-end in cost, but they bring these dishes out, and you're watching every one of them go by, and you go, I want one of those, because they're so colorful. You know, they just look like pure bright colors of red and green. So I like to eat there with my daughter a lot. But okay, so you guys, how far along are you? Have you came up with a name for the next drop, or are you keeping that under hats for now?
We do have a name. It has not been released yet.
Okay.
So we'll probably do that in a few months, but we do have the name. And, you know, we're starting to do some of the preliminary work, I guess you could say, to the writing process. So, you know, it's in the works is the best that I can say, but it's going to be something pretty mind-boggling, pretty earth-shattering stuff is what I can say.
Well, I like the sound of that. I do. Anytime a band can come out and just sort of blow people away with an impact, that's, to me, I'm very dramatic person. I like extreme depth and extreme, you know, up, down, in art. You know, I like to be taken on a roller coaster ride if I can, and so that's cool. That's a cool thing to hear. If you would you ever consider writing notes from the road?
Yeah, I think I started doing something like that when I was really young, when I was doing stuff with bands, like back in the olden days, like 15, 16 years old. And I, you know, to be honest with you, my primary influence with all that stuff was Henry Rollins, and I was really inspired by his journals.
Yes.
When I was really young, I was like 12, like a million years ago. And so I actually used to write a lot about what my escapades on the road and just stuff like that. It never really materialized into anything that is like concisely in like a volume or something. It's always just like posts on my blog or something like that.
Sure.
I really would like to start doing it again, but it's just one of those things where, you know, there's so much that goes on.
Right. Yeah. That if you try to capture it all, or you try to pick out a highlight and you can't.
Yeah, we're just like, there's not like a lot of personal time where I can sit down and get an hour or two by myself to collect my thoughts. And, you know, that's fine. Like, a lot of the stuff I write is when I'm on the road, it's just when I'm kind of either on my own doing stuff or
sure.
after the fact.
Or you could your reflections on, oh, last night was great. It was a small crowd, but they interacted like with every word we sang, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. I'll tell you what, folks. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Lindsay used to write for our publication, The Gauntlet, and she's a tremendous writer. So I'll take anything, even one word, if you give it to me. So I was just curious about that. Is there anyone with a tattoo of Coma Cluster Void? I'm sure there are, other than the band members.
I don't know, but you know, if anybody has a Coma Cluster Void tattoo and you want to send it to us, that would be awesome. I'd love to see that. Okay,
cool. I noticed that you guys have one of those special pages on YouTube, and that's got to be some kind of vote of confidence. I'm not talking about channel, but it's just has the band, the discography, and all the music and everything. Yeah, let's see. I talked to Sin Kieran from Ministry, and I said he started this new band called Three-Headed Snake, and it's a side project. And it was basically just for his own listening purposes. And he ended up it got out. And people were like, this is fantastic. We've got to have more of this, blah, 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 blah. And long story short is I asked him if anyone had a tattoo of it yet, and he said, no, but people have drawn my complete portrait on their bodies, and I think it's kooky as hell. Nothing personal, people. All right. Okay, so I've always thought of you as sort of a old soul or a person ahead of your time or something, because you just said you were 12 and you were a punk rocker, and or I assumed that because of Rollins. And I've heard you talk about punk sensibilities before, which are no longer gone because punk is just a sound, right? I mean, nobody plays for free anymore and all that crap, but that was kind of a cool movement, I thought. But how does one, when I was 12, I think I was listening to Peter Frampton, if you've even ever heard of him. It's kind of disgusting now, but I wish I had mined the underground a lot more than I did when I was younger, but how does a 12-year-old get so interested in the underground? Was it local performances or older brothers or sisters or parents? Or?
No, I mean, I think I was a pretty feral child. I didn't really have a lot of supervision growing up. Kind of raised myself, essentially.
Did you just say feral child?
Yeah, it was,
Okay, that's fantastic. You got to put that on the record somewhere. I see a song called Feral Girl. God.
So, like, metaphorically, I didn't have a lot of supervision, and I, took care of myself a lot, but music was definitely my refuge, and I think that because it wasn't, like, monitored a lot, I was really precocious, so I got into a lot of stuff you probably shouldn't get into when you're, like, 11 or 12 music-wise, but...
Well, you mean like Chasing the Dragon at 11?
No. I mean, I was, I grew up in the 90s, so I had, like, MTV, really, like, prehistoric internet kind of stuff. So
sure.
I would just, like, watch music videos and find out about bands, and this kind of in the whole, like, early 90s, so I'd find out, early to mid-90s, so I'd find out about bands, and then I would look it up on the internet, who's this, and then follow this, like, pipeline trail of music, of records, of influences. But I was also a really big reader, so, again, I found out about Rollins. I think I saw his interview with Kurt Loder, like, in 94, 95.
Whoa, that's a fossil.
Yeah, and I'm like, who's this crazy dude? And, so in the interview, I think he was talking about if he was getting a band or Henry Rollins. I'm not sure what had come out at that time. So, I, with my little 12-year-old self, like, rode my bike down to the bookstore. There was this place called Media Play, which had, at the time, like, CDs and records, books and stuff, and I found his book there. And I picked it up, and then I read about all the stuff he was doing and all the bands he toured with, and that just kind of opened up this whole world for me of hardcore and punk from the 80s.
Yeah, because his mainstay was Black Flag, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was his, wasn't his first band, but his most well-known, I guess, in that genre.
Yeah, and the hardcore punk it sounds dangerous, kind of, when you watch him on stage and he's like, my God, this guy's a gentleman, how can that mix?
Yeah.
But then you find that out about just about all metal people are soft-spoken, kind people when they're not in character. And so I've started asking the question, do you feel possessed by some other kind of energy when you're up there? And a lot of people will say, yeah, that's kind of about the best I could tell you, but really, there is no way to describe it. You have to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of agree with that. I think for me, it's not, like, for me, like, what I do is not about being in character. It's mostly just about allowing other archetypes of myself to be present as opposed to something that's not me. So it's like most people walk around and they have like their day-to-day personality, but then they also have like their id, they have their stuff. And
yeah.
It's their stuff. seems like it's really removed from them, but it's really their stuff. So I decided to really touch with my stuff and my id and my archetypes and to be more full as a person, I guess.
Shit, man. That's some deep thinking there. Which brings me to another question, and a couple more after that we'll be done. Is did I hear or see somewhere that you went to Cornell University?
I did. I got a master's degree there a couple years ago.
What the fuck? In what?
In marketing.
I'm not saying that you're not smart. I mean, you're throwing archetypes out and shit like that, but but it's expensive. You must have had. Did you get a scholarship or? I know I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in deep student loan debt, that's for sure. But I was, I'm an adult, so I went as an adult and had an adult level job full time, paid my way, saved up. Been in marketing for like a really long time, so it was mostly just something I wanted to do for myself. I like learning. I like going to school. I like,
You like to read?
Yeah, I love to read. Yeah, I just like to stay informed and.
So you like to read nonfiction?
Okay, go ahead.
You like to read nonfiction more than fiction?
I do. I really do. I like to know how to do things.
That's that's cool.
Be very self-sufficient. Yeah.
If you wait just a couple of years, I think they're going to implant all the data into our brains. So
I really hope not.
Me too.
I'm gonna run away.
Yeah. I would not like that. Okay. So are you gonna map out the phrasing for the vocals on this next recording, or are they just gonna hand you a sheet and go, this pause here, break down here, stop here, go there? Since this is your first time with these guys.
I think because it is my first time, I think it's going to be, there's three vocalists. There's Austin Taylor, myself, and Mike Salvo, who was formerly a Chris Humphrey. So we're the three vocalists in the band, which I think is pretty interesting. It gives us that seismic quality and intensity of these three voices. So I think, Mike's going to primarily write a lot of lyrics. We're collaborating on a lot of stuff in terms of, organizing and putting it all together. It's such an intense process that, I'll have to see how that goes this round. And you've listened to the music, so you know that it's, the arrangement is really key to making the music as massive as it is.
Mm-hmm.
My primary focus is just having as big of a voice, literally, as possible. So I've been practicing a lot with different tones, different guttural tonality.
Sure.
And just really trying to get different octaves and things like that, because I really want to do something vocally that is as big as the music is. So
you're trying to innovate the sound a little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think too, I love death metal vocals. I think it's kind of there's a science to it that hasn't really been articulated much. We know all about shreddy guitar players and awesome bass players, and these really crazy talented drummers, but nobody's really broken down.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, how hard could that be?" And I'm like, "Well, try it once." It's not that. It's very difficult.
It's very tough, but I think most people can make these sounds. But I want to kind of break it down a little bit more and find new ways to make these sounds even more intense and just new stuff. I really like unique sounding vocalists. Like one of my all-time favorite vocalists is Karen Crisis, and she was probably the primary influence on me growing up. She opened this whole world of like, oh wow, like females can do this stuff too, because I was just listening to male vocalists.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to be like that. But then I heard Crisis. I think it was Death Set Extermination, that album.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, holy shit, has a really brutal voice, but she does these kind of like costume twins type of violin sounding voices. I mean, she's incredible. So I like vocalists who just really push the envelope and do really different things, and I'm striving to be like that, or at least try to explore things like that just in different ways.
Well, I'd say that the Void is lucky to have you because that's the way you think, and you're not going to take something and just do it. You want to make it better, and that's awesome. I'm the same way, except I like to rig things too much. But I was going to say, what was I going to say? I'm getting old now, so I'm forgetting things and repeating things all the time. But do you like Alyssa Glues?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Arch Enemy was, one of those bands that everybody loved or liked, even when Angela on vocals, she was the original. And,
right.
I mean, well, not the original, but, like, she's, a fantastic vocalist. I think that every singer has their own style, so it's kind of hard to. I mean, I just appreciate anybody who gets up on stage and does their thing because it takes a lot of bravery, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so here, let me hit a few more quick points that are intriguing to me. The first one is, what do you think about what's going on with Cannibal Corpse? I know you had an affinity for them at one point.
What's my opinion on it?
What do you think? What do you think's happening? I mean, they let him out on bail, so they must not think that he's a danger to society. Do you think we're getting a lot of propaganda about what really happened?
I don't know. I think it's just all incredibly sad.
Yeah, it is sad, but if it's been fourth hand by the time it gets to the news, one antique revolver turns into a cache of weapons, and
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I will say that. I don't think there's any weird media manipulation of what happened. I think it's actually been pretty respectfully reported.
Sure.
Overall, because I think he's a really nice guy. They're fucking phenomenal band. They're one of my favorites. They're all really nice people, and I think it's just everybody feels really just horrible about the whole thing. I mean, they're coming up on these two really big tours this year, and it's just who knows what happens behind the scenes or what somebody's struggling with or what's challenging them.
Sure.
And when somebody can go that long down those holes and that kind of darkness and have that and go there, it's just mostly just sad. Man,
it is, yes.
It sounds like there wasn't much of a support system there to catch something like that before it got to this point, which is, I think, the worst part. But
yeah, I mean, everybody does time in the gutter, but when it's long time in the gutter, I mean, we've all been there, right?
Absolutely.
And we've all suffered through things we thought we might not even survive, but if you're just all alone there, and not even people visiting you and going, okay, something's not quite right here, I better get some friends, then it's, I see what you're saying. That could be really, really dark and really
isolating.
Yeah, and isolating and sort of disassociative almost. Okay, so now I'm going to ask a wacky question, and then we'll be done, I think. You've seen The Matrix, right? You know that there's two pills you can take, right? You can take one that will tell you that it's all just a computer program. And the other one will put you back into the land of make-believe, and you will have all your loved ones around you and never know what happened. Which one would you take?
Oh, I want the one that wakes me up. I don't want to be in one. I mean, I want to know how the computer works. Like I said, I'd like to know things, and I want to know how the machine runs. I don't want to be asleep.
What if somebody that you were deeply in love with was going to be, you'd find out that they were nothing more than code?
That's fine. That's kind of in line with what I believe in general anyway.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard not to sometimes. I just wish I could find the glitches so I could fly. But, you know, you and I are about out of 100 people. I think there's been 6 of us. I don't want to be a battery anymore either. I want to find out what's going on. Yeah, and like the same thing. I'm not so much into learning everything I can, but my curiosity is just completely out of control. You know, I'm just curious about everything. Okay, so anything? Tell me what's on your mind right this minute.
I mean, there's so much. I was thinking about practice later today. I have vocal practice later today. There's going to be another major wolf moon eclipse in a couple days that I've just read about. Thinking about going to a place to see that.
Okay.
Mundane things. I'm actually fully present with this interview, but there's always that brutal.
God damn, Mondays are just like, get all the weapons out of the house and belts, because it's like a suicide watch for me, man. That's not a very good joke, but I mean, I can't stand Sunday or Monday. Can't stand them.
Monday?
Sunday or Monday. I hate them both. I mean, because Sunday's the end, right? It's the end of that weekend, whether you're working or not. The weekend's always going to have meaning because you didn't go to school when you were a kid. And then I hear the tick 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 tick, and Morley Safer from 60 Minutes, and I'm like, I'm going to nibble on a gun barrel if that doesn't stop.
Yeah, that's all in your mind, man. It's all just perception.
I know. I can exercise it out. I mean, a day is a day, right? There's really not a difference. It's, that's a very shrewd way to tell me about it. And, sometimes the simplest solutions to things get right by me, They just fly right over. Okay, so last question. Go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Oh, no, I was going to say, sometimes when you're a thinking person, simple solutions can be a little bit evasive, so.
Yeah, you think you got to be complex or something, and simple doesn't mean easy either. I mean,
no.
Do you want to lose weight? Yeah, okay, just quit eating sugar. That's simple, but not easy. Okay, so question, and then you can have the floor if you want to talk to your fans or tell them anything. That's fine, or if you don't have to either. But what would you say is the farthest from your chosen genre or your chosen style of art in the form of music that you listen to, which can't be hip-hop or rap, because those are both also kind of extreme forms?
Wow.
They can be. I mean, a lot of rap fans listen to metal in their spare time. A lot of rap musicians are also metalheads. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because they converge sort of at the top, right? So, is it going to be a difficult question for you to answer? I had one guy one time tell me Billy Ocean, and I just about shit my pants.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, it's not like, the stuff that I like, so I don't think it's, like, super off the grid, most of the things that I like, I'm sure people can appreciate it. I like a lot of Motown, I like a lot of oldies and, classical music, I love a lot of jazz.
Do you understand jazz? Because if you do, please explain it to me sometime.
Do I understand jazz?
Do you understand it?
I mean, from the standpoint of it being its own language, yeah. it's.
Yeah,
it depends. There's different styles of jazz. So
Sure.
There's some that's more interpretive and some that's a little bit more standard. So I guess it depends on, what you're listening to.
I guess for me, jazz has always been sort of ambient. I've been to jazz clubs, and when there's a clap every time someone does a little freeform Odyssey or something. But a lot of jazz of the standards era were using morphine, right? And
Yeah, I think
my wife was getting a tattoo. It got infected, and it was excruciating. So she went to the emergency room, and they gave her morphine. On the way home, I got all my Miles Davis records. I said, "You're going to explain jazz to me now." She didn't like that at all. Anyway, so okay, well, that's a good round. The thing when you said classical, that's very common, and there's a lot of people who believe if classical artists were to come through the time warp to now, they'd be metalheads because of its complexity. Okay, so do you have anything you would like to tell all the fans, the cult fans, the soft stuff fans, hang in there or whatever?
If I have them out there, hello, that'd be pretty incredible. Thanks for listening, whoever's listening in general. Thanks for tuning in and giving your time to listen to this talk. And if you're out there and you want to connect, find me on the Face page on Facebook or Instagram. Always looking to meet and connect with new people.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you have fans because you'll see when I post how many people come. Lidsay, thanks a lot. Folks, we've been listening to Lidsay O Vox, a true singular person in the realm of metal, and well worth the time, as she said, to get a hold of her. You'll learn something probably. Lidsay, thanks a lot. Have yourself a great Monday, and I'm real happy for how your things are going right now.
Awesome. You have a great one. Thanks for the talk.
You bet. Catch you later.